In a galaxy torn by endless wars, Orena Sarapi mourns her fallen hero and struggles to move forward. Her life changes when a human, Jack O'Connor, crashes near her home on Elysia. As she nurses him back to health, their worlds collide, sparking unexpected emotions and raising profound ethical dilemmas. Can love bridge unimaginable gaps? If you want to dive into real stories of parallel realities every day, in enigmatic, technological worlds that are completely different from our planet, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Well, let's go. Orena Sarapi stood on the precipice of a high cliff, the waning sunlight casting long shadows over the serene landscape of her home planet, Elysia. The air thickened with the ethereal glow of bioluminescent flora, the hues shifting hypnotically from pale blues to iridescent violets, casting a spellbinding yet melancholy aura over the land. Elysia, with its sky painted in soft mauve and its two moons peeking shyly from behind the swirling nebulae, was a haven of peace and beauty. Yet, for Orena, it had become a place of unending sorrow and reflection. She cradled her daughter, Lyla, close to her chest. Lyla, only 5 axial years old, was an innocent amidst the chaos, with eyes that mirrored the cerulean lakes of Elysia and wild, dark curls that framed her angelic face. Her laughter, once a cheerful melody, had turned into a rare and precious sound, swallowed by the somber tones of their household. Orena's heart was weighed down by the relentless grief of loss. Her husband, Ain Seraphil, a war hero renowned throughout the galaxy, had perished in the brutal intergalactic war. Ain had been a beacon of hope and strength, his presence as enduring as the tallest Turu trees of Elysia but just as fleeting in the face of war's unyielding brutality. The world beneath them lay in a deceptive serenity. The bioluminescent flora danced with the whispers of wind, and the distant outline of the capital city shimmered with golden lights. It was a world seemingly at peace, yet Orena's internal landscape mirrored a turbulent sea of grief and uncertainty. Towers of glass and organic materials soared, twirling like the sacred wisp dancers of old legends, but to Orena, these were mere ghostly reminders of a life now fragmented. She glanced at Lyla, feeling the weight of the future pressing against her chest. Determined to provide a brighter path for her daughter, Orena resolved to find a figure who could fill the void left by Ain. Her duties as a mother had never felt more daunting. She had to guide her daughter through a universe stripped of the one person who had embodied their anchor. The whispers of Ain's bravery haunted her dreams, stirring a resolve that she had to be both mother and father to Lyla, a fortress of safety in a world that had relentlessly shown her its cruel side. The twilight deepened, and the first stars of night began to twinkle in the velvet sky. They stood there, mother and child, embracing the oncoming darkness, their shadows merging into one under the starlit canopy. Elysia's moons climbed higher, illuminating the vast expanse of flora with a silvery glow, as if paying silent homage to the heroes lost in the cosmos. The cliff they stood upon was not just a geological formation, it was a symbol of where Orena's world had fractured. It was the dividing line between the past and the uncertain future. Behind them loomed the remnants of their once joyful home, now an echoing cavern of memories. Ain's personal quarters, adorned with accolades and holographic tributes from the High Command, now seemed like a forlorn shrine. The Hall of Memories, a grand structure nearby, once reverberated with tales of gallant deeds and glorious victories. But now, it seemed to hold only mournful whispers of lives cut short and promises unfulfilled. Orena often found herself wandering its halls in the dead of night, seeking solace in the faint holographic projections of her husband recounting his missions with valor. The bioluminescent plants that surrounded the cliff's edge were known as teardrops, named after their pearl-like bulbs that glowed softly after sunset. Ain used to say they were the spirits of the ancestors watching over them. Now, Orena looked at them with new eyes, as if seeking a sign or message from Ain himself. Would he have wanted her to move on? To find another to complete their shattered family? This conflict gnawed at her, a silent scream that accompanied the quiet of the Elysian nights. Lyla moved slightly in her arms, her delicate features serene in sleep. She was a reminder of Ain's legacy that lived on, a whisper in the wind, a flicker of hope. Her very existence was a plea from the cosmos for Orena to persevere. She needed to be strong, not just for herself but for this small embodiment of pure potential and innocence cradled against her. As the night deepened, the cool air brought with it the distant sounds of nocturnal creatures stirring in the luminous forest below. The chirping of sky gems, small, winged insects whose wings created harmonious tunes, drifted upwards, providing a momentary distraction from the gnawing ache in Orena's heart. It was the simple, untouched beauty of Elysia, a world brimming with life and light even amidst personal despair, that gave Orena a semblance of peace. The sturdy figure of Raylan, Ain's brother, often haunted this place too. He stood at a respectful distance, observing the grieving scene with a warrior's silent respect. Raylan was a towering figure of strength, his face chiseled and marked by the scars of many battles. His eyes, like molten amber, reflected a guarded softness reserved only for his family. While Orena had found it hard to reintegrate into normal life after Ain's death, Raylan's dedication to protector roles had only deepened. He had become a constant, vigilant presence, his distrust for outsiders growing ever sharper, a reflection of his own unhealed wounds. Raylan's shadowed eyes often met Orena's, revealing a shared understanding of loss. It was an unspoken bond. Each wordless exchange further solidified their roles as guardians of Ain's memory and protectors of Lyla. Raylan's suspicions towards the universe were well justified in the aftermath of their loss. He was a figure forever standing at the brink of action, a sentinel whose heartbeats echoed with silent oaths to shield what remained of his family. As Orena looked out over the vast, moonlit landscape of Elysia, a fragment of resolve began to form. This wasn't only about finding a figure to replace Ain, it was about ensuring that Lyla knew strength, resilience, and, most importantly, love, even in the darkest of times. Orena's decision wasn't just for Lyla. It was for Ain's spirit, for Raylan's unspoken need to heal, and for herself, to rediscover the fire that once defined her. The stars above seemed to flicker in synchrony with her thoughts, as if the universe itself resonated with her silent vows. Each star was a beacon of the countless souls lost, wandering yet illuminating the darkness. Perhaps Ain, from somewhere in that endless expanse, was watching, urging her to take the steps forward even in his absence. The night sky over Elysia was an eternal tapestry of luminous stars, constellations woven with boundless beauty and mystery. Among their celestial dance, the tranquility was suddenly shattered by a brilliant, fiery streak tearing through the atmosphere. The sound of an explosion echoed through the valleys and forests, rippling through the air with a sense of foreboding. On the precipice where Orena Sarapi often stood to contemplate her grief, she now felt a crashing wave of dread and curiosity. Her heart pounded as she gathered the hem of her flowing gown and started running towards the direction of the chaos. Lyla, her daughter, watched with wide, frightened eyes, clinging to the fabric of her mother's dress. Orena's resolve hardened. She had to investigate. Whatever, or whoever, had fallen from the sky on this silent night could be a threat or a cry for help. With every step, the alien terrain around her seemed more alive, as if the bioluminescent plants sensed the gravity of the moment. The crash site was a twisted mass of metal and fire, the remains of a spacecraft half buried in the soft, glowing ground of Elysia. Steam and smoke billowed, creating an eerie glow illuminated by the embers. Orena approached with trepidation, her eyes narrowing to focus through the haze. Her ears caught faint groans of pain. There, amidst the wreckage, she found him, a human, possibly the first she had ever seen in person. Jack O'Connor lay among the debris, his body battered and bloodied, barely clinging to life. His face was obscured by a broken helmet, fragments of his suit's technology sparking intermittently. Orena's heart ached at the sight, her compassion overriding any fear. She leaned in, her hands trembling as she delicately removed the helmet, revealing his pale, bruised face. His eyes fluttered briefly, glassy with pain, before closing again. The realization dawned on her that she couldn't leave him there. She hesitated but a moment before calling back to Lyla to remain at a safe distance, and then, summoning all her strength, she carefully pulled Jack from the wreckage. She managed to haul his limp form through the darkening forest, understanding that every second was crucial. Each step felt like an eternity as the weight of her burden and the gravity of the situation pressed upon her. Arriving back at her dwelling, a modest yet warm home filled with memories of her lost husband Ain, she laid Jack on the family's healing table. The technology of her people, though advanced, was not optimized for humans, and she questioned her ability to aid him. Nevertheless, driven by a resolute sense of duty and empathy, she began to treat his wounds using all the means at her disposal. Lyla, still scared but equally intrigued, watched her mother with wide eyes, her small frame trembling in the doorway. She had never seen a human before and was both fearful and fascinated by the strange newcomer. His appearance, so different from their kind, both troubled and intrigued her young mind. Orena worked tirelessly through the night, her hands deftly administering medical salves, binding wounds, and ensuring Jack's vitals remained stable. Her thoughts wandered between the man lying before her and the memories of her fallen husband. The sorrow of loss intertwined with the fear of the unknown future. Yet, there was a flicker of hope. Perhaps this stranger brought something new and transformative to their lives. In the days that followed, Jack's condition began to improve, though he remained unconscious for prolonged periods. During the quieter moments, Orena found solace in the rhythmic sounds of Elysia's nature, the whispering winds and the gentle hum of nocturnal creatures. Each day, Lyla ventured a little closer, her curiosity overwhelming her fear. She would peer at Jack with wide, innocent eyes, occasionally reaching out to touch the fabric of his clothing or study his features. The arrival of Jack stirred old wounds and new fears in Raylan, Orena's brother-in-law and the sibling of her late husband Ain. Raylan was a protector at heart, and the sight of a human brought a swift, skeptical scowl to his face. He mistrusted the outsider, doubting his intentions and wary of the disturbance his presence might cause. Raylan confronted Orena one evening just as the sun dipped below the horizon, staining the sky with hues of crimson and gold. "We know nothing of this man or his intentions," he began, his voice filled with a mix of concern and frustration. "He could be a danger to us all. We can't afford to be careless." Orena met his gaze with steady resolve. "He's injured, Raylan, lost and in need of help. We cannot turn away from someone in need." "I won't. Isn't that what Ain would have wanted?" Her words struck a chord with Raylan. The mention of his brother brought a flash of pain across his features, veiled by his stoic facade. Raylan's heart was torn between his duty to protect and his desire to honor his brother's memory by aiding those in distress. The days turned to weeks, Jack slowly regaining his strength under Orena's care. Late at night, when the house was quiet and the galaxy outside shimmered, Orena and Jack shared whispered conversations. They spoke of their pasts, their losses, and the dreams they once held. Jack's voice was hoarse, carrying the weight of countless battles and a deep, unspoken sadness. Orena found herself drawn to his stories, realizing that despite their different worlds, their pain was strikingly similar. The shared experiences of loss and the cruel sting of war created an unspoken bond between them, a fragile connection that provided comfort in their darkest moments. As they spoke, Jack's exterior as a toughened spacefarer peeled away, revealing a man haunted by memories and regrets. His earnestness began to touch a chord within Orena's heart. Raylan, however, watched these interactions with mistrust. Determined to uncover the true nature of this human, he decided to bring Jack to the Hall of Memories, a sacred place known only to the inhabitants of Elysia. Filled with holographic recordings of their history, the hall was a testament to the valor and sacrifices of their people. Jack stood in awe as they entered the hall, its cavernous expanse illuminated by floating holograms depicting heroes, battles, and monumental events. The ethereal glow of the holograms cast an almost otherworldly light upon their faces. Raylan watched closely as Jack's gaze moved from one hologram to another, his eyes reflecting a deep respect and sorrow. "This is where we remember our fallen," Raylan said, his voice echoing in the vast hall. "This is where we honor their sacrifices." He studied Jack's reaction, searching for any sign of insincerity. Moved by the silent testimonials of courage and loss, Jack felt a profound connection to the tales of valor and tradition. Days turned into weeks as the rigid regularity of Elysia's planetary rotation carved a rhythm into Jack's recovery. Searing pain and dizziness that once shackled his every move began to recede, replaced by the cautious ambulation of a man renewed. Encased in a cocoon of bioluminescent flora and other leftover hope, Jack O'Connor found himself entwined within the daily lives of Orena Sarapi and her daughter, Lyla. Orena, whose eyes bore the scars of unshed tears and whose words carried the weight of untold stories, looked over Jack with a mix of maternal care and budding intrigue. Their late-night conversations unfolded like a dusty book, revealing a tapestry woven from threads of sorrow, love, and shattered dreams. Jack was often mesmerized by the scenic beauty of Elysia, an ever-present reminder of peace in stark contrast to the turbulent history of intergalactic wars. The landscape, dotted with radiant plants, crystalline rivers, and whispering winds, seemed to be a living testament to resilience and the planet's ancient wisdom. Every detail, from the spiral-shaped leaves to the iridescent glow emanating from the rock formations, echoed stories from epochs long past. Yet, it was a beauty tinged with a melancholic undertone, a reflection of the inhabitants' collective grief and their struggle for a future unmarred by conflict. Despite the tranquil magic of the world around him, Jack was acutely aware of the suspicion and scrutiny coming from Raylan. Raylan, the protective brother of the fallen hero Orena Sarapi, continued to eye Jack with an ever-watchful gaze. Unlike Orena's willing vulnerability, Raylan's demeanor was a fortress of unresolved anger and skepticism. One evening, inspired by a mixture of weariness and determined resolve, Raylan decided that the time had come to test Jack's true intentions. Leading Jack to the heart of the village, they approached the grand Hall of Memories, a sanctum dedicated to preserving their most sacred recordings. Here, holographic memoirs played in a suspended loop, recounting tales of valor, sacrifice, and defiance against impossible odds. The hall itself was an architectural marvel, an intricate blend of Elysian biostructure and crystalline technology. As they entered, the temperature lowered slightly, and the ambient hum of the hall's mechanisms instilled a reverent silence. Raylan positioned himself like a sentinel beside a towering structure within the hall. His expression was solemn as he gestured Jack to look upon the nearest holographic recording. Phantasmagorical figures of fallen heroes materialized before them, their spectral forms recounting battles fought and spirits never broken. One particularly vivid image was that of Orena Sarapi, standing tall and resolute, his eyes radiating the same determination that now etched itself into Raylan's features. Caught in the emotional tidal wave of these spectral stories, Jack felt a profound sense of belonging amidst this alien context, recognizing a familiar narrative of heroism and sacrifice from his own past. He began to speak, the words seeping from him like a waterfall released after a long, dry season. "I know what it's like to lose those you love." Jack's voice wavered but was suffused with conviction. He detailed his own battles, the comrades who perished, and the countless nights spent haunted by memories of his own fallen people. As he spoke, his voice interlaced with the hall's echoes, creating a symphony of shared trauma. Each story laid bare his heart, demonstrating an understanding that transcended species and planetary boundaries. Raylan, though initially unmoved, found the shards of his skepticism slowly being dissolved by Jack's poignant recounting of his own life. Here was a man who, much like Ain, bore the weight of lost comrades and the resilience fostered in the crucible of conflict. It was almost as if Ain's spirit had guided Jack to Elysia. With a mixture of reluctance and burgeoning respect, Raylan addressed Jack. "Your pain resonates with ours," he admitted, his voice softer yet still carrying the iron of Elysian resolve. "But understand this. Proving your worth here is an ongoing endeavor. Trust is not given lightly in our world." The tentative acceptance from Raylan marked a societal pivot. Jack's standing within the communal web of Elysia shifted from that of an alien outsider to a potential ally. It wasn't immediate, nor was it without its fractures, but the fissures began to close. The mistrust was replaced by a cautious respect, creating the foundation for what could become a powerful alliance. As the days turned to weeks, Jack's role within the household of Orena and Lyla expanded. He began assisting with the daily chores, learning the intricacies of Elysian life and their advanced technologies that operated on a harmonious balance between organic and mechanic ecosystems. Raylan, too, began to spend more time with Jack. They sparred in combat training facilities, collaborated on maintenance tasks, and even shared quiet moments in the dense Elysian forests. The arching canopies of Elysia's trees, with their pulsating, bioluminescent leaves, provided a serene backdrop to these burgeoning friendships. It was in one particularly dense grove that Raylan shared fragments of his relationship with Ain. "He was more than a brother to me," Raylan said, his voice almost swallowed by the surrounding forest. "He was my compass. Losing him, I didn't just lose a brother, but a part of myself." Jack, in response, offered his own experiences of losing his closest combat companions. His words were like a mirror, reflecting the grief but also the unyielding hope that had kept him moving forward. Each shared story was a step towards mutual understanding, a bridge being constructed over the chasm of their differences. Even as interpersonal dynamics evolved, the broader context of Elysian society came to the forefront. The Hall of Memories became a central part of Jack's growing immersion into their culture, now a symbol not merely of loss but of collective inheritance. The holographic recordings, once solely historical documents, became instructional guides that Jack used to educate himself on Elysian tactics, philosophy, and social norms. On one auspicious evening, the village gathered for a ritualistic ceremony held in the expansive central square, luminescent flora casting an ethereal glow over the assembled. The event commemorated past heroes and welcomed potential new ones. Jack, tentative yet resolute, stood beside Orena, Lyla, and Raylan. As ancient chants filled the air, punctuated by harmonic notes from wind instruments, Jack felt a stirring within him, a powerful acknowledgement of his place in this new paradigm. The village elder, an ancient figure by the name of Thalora, approached Jack and placed a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was both frail and resilient, much like the society she led. "You have earned a place among us," she proclaimed, her voice reverberating through the gathering. "But remember, every step on this path demands honor, courage, and unwavering commitment." The night sky over Elysia was a vast expanse, illuminated by distant stars and punctuated by the bioluminescent flora that surrounded Orena's humble abode. The tranquility of the landscape stood in stark contrast to the storm brewing within Raylan's heart. Inside the small, rustic home, the air was thick with tension, the kind that only grows from the clash of unresolved grief and wary anticipation. Jack O'Connor, the human whose ship had crashed near their sanctuary, was now standing face to face with Raylan, the brother of Orena's deceased husband, Orena Sarapi. The interior of the house was modestly furnished, with handcrafted items that spoke of Elysian craftsmanship and culture. Alien trinkets adorned the walls, each a silent testament to the rich history and artistry of Orena's people. But these artifacts seemed distant and irrelevant as Raylan's piercing eyes bore into Jack, who, despite his recovery, still bore the physical and emotional scars of his own harrowing journey. Raylan's tall frame, robust and etched with the passage of time through the intergalactic war, contrasted sharply with Jack's leaner build, a testament to human resilience but also their vulnerability. Raylan's skepticism had not waned despite the collaborative spirit that had started to take root in his sister's household. The protective brother's gaze was intense, filled with a fire that had been stoked by years of war and personal loss. "You don't belong here, human." Raylan's voice was a low growl, laced with mistrust and simmering anger. The phrase hung in the air, a palpable challenge. Jack, though burdened by the weight of Raylan's suspicion, stood his ground. His time recovering under Orena's care had given him more than just physical healing. It had instilled in him a profoundly stirring respect for her strength and compassion. He knew this confrontation was inevitable and that earning Raylan's trust was crucial for his continued presence here. He took a deep breath, his eyes meeting Raylan's with a determined steadiness. "I'm not here to intrude," Jack began, his voice steady but edged with emotion. "I'm here because my path brought me to this place, to your family. And in the time I've spent here, I've come to care for Orena and Lyla as if they were my own. I understand your mistrust, but I want to prove my worth to you." Raylan's eyes narrowed, the internal conflict evident on his face. He scrutinized Jack, seeking any sign of deceit. The room seemed to tense, awaiting Raylan's verdict. "Words are cheap, human. Actions are what matter," Raylan retorted, his stance rigid and unyielding. "What do you want from him, Raylan?" Orena's voice cut through the tension like a blade. She stepped into the room, her face a calm yet resolute mask. The years of grief and loss had not diminished her strength, instead, they had fortified her will. Raylan turned to his sister, his expression softening ever so slightly. "I want to know that he's worthy of our trust, that he's not just another outsider waiting to bring more suffering to our lives." Jack seized the moment, stepping forward with a fervent resolve. "Then test me," he declared. "Whatever it takes to prove my sincerity, I will do it." Raylan's stern gaze lingered on Jack before he finally nodded. "Very well. Tomorrow, you will accompany me to the Hall of Memories. There, we will see if you truly understand the weight of what my people have endured." The following day dawned with a chill in the air, a whisper of frost that crept through the verdant hills of Elysia. The Hall of Memories, a revered structure constructed from the bioluminescent stones native to the planet, stood grand and solemn amidst the serene landscape. The edifice glowed softly, a physical repository of Elysian history and heritage. Jack followed Raylan into the hall, his heart pounding in anticipation. The interior was vast, an architectural marvel that seamlessly integrated advanced technology with the organic beauty of the planet. Holographic recordings lined the walls, each one a vivid playback of memories and moments that shaped the lives of countless Elysian heroes. Raylan led Jack to a central chamber, where a holographic console awaited. With a gesture, Raylan activated the console, bringing forth a series of recordings. The first playback began, displaying the courageous acts of Orena Sarapi, Orena's late husband and Raylan's beloved brother. Jack watched in silence as the hologram depicted scenes of Orena in battle, his valor and sacrifice immortalized in flickering light. "These are the memories of those we hold dear," Raylan's voice echoed through the chamber, laden with emotion. "Their sacrifices are not to be taken lightly. If you truly understand our pain, you will honor their memories, not just with words, but with your actions." Jack absorbed the weight of Raylan's words, his eyes misting as he watched the holographic projections. Orena's bravery, the camaraderie with his fellow warriors, and the bitter cost of the war were laid bare before him. Jack saw in Orena the reflection of the sacrifices he himself had made, the friends he had lost, and the battles that had left him scarred. "I know what it means to lose the ones you love," Jack said quietly, his voice trembling with raw emotion. "I've fought and bled, watched my comrades fall, and felt the crushing weight of guilt and sorrow. I'm not here to replace your brother, but to stand alongside you, to protect and honor what he fought for." Raylan's stern facade wavered as he witnessed the sincerity in Jack's eyes. The shared pain of loss, and the unwavering determination to protect their loved ones, forged a connection that transcended their differences. For the first time, Raylan allowed himself to see Jack not as an intruder, but as a potential ally, a kindred spirit in the aftermath of devastation. Outside the Hall of Memories, the day was inching towards dusk, the sky painted in hues of orange and purple, reflecting the emotional tempest that had passed within the chamber. Jack and Raylan walked side by side, the beginnings of mutual respect forming between them. When they returned to Orena's home, the atmosphere had notably shifted. Orena sensed the change, her heart swelling with cautious hope. Lyla, sensing the tension dissipate, approached Jack with a shy but curious gaze, her youthful innocence a beacon amidst the shadows of their past. As the days turned into weeks, a tentative routine settled into their lives. Jack immersed himself in the daily tasks, sharing the responsibilities of the household and contributing to the community. He learned the ways of the Elysians, their customs and traditions, his respect for their culture growing with each passing day. In the luminous glow of dawn on Elysia, Orena Sarapi could feel the weight of the bygone days lifting, ever so gently. The intense hues of the morning light painted the sky in shades of crimson and gold, signaling the start of a new chapter. The planet's bioluminescent flora began to dim, their nightly radiance giving way to the brilliance of the day. The once bountiful valley, now strewn with remnants of past battles, was a poignant testament to the resilience and enduring spirit of its inhabitants. The last vestiges of the night were filled with the shared silence of Orena, Jack, and Lyla. They had endured so much together, each scar a silent proof of their growing bond. Orena, her heart slowly mending, found a strange comfort in Jack's presence. His survival and subsequent integration into their world were nothing short of miraculous, a signal from the universe that life, in its unpredictable nature, could still weave threads of hope through the fabric of sorrow. Jack, whose frail state had once demanded every ounce of Orena's care, now stood as a protector and ally. His human determination and fortitude had become pillars upon which Orena leaned. He had grown eerily familiar with the cacophony of biotechnological beeps and alien symphonies echoing in Elysia's Hall of Memories. Each day, he discovered more about their culture, their pain, and their love for life. He had embedded himself into the very essence of Elysian existence, earning the cautious yet hopeful respect of Raylan. Raylan's initial skepticism had transformed through the countless trials and adversities they had faced together. The moment Jack had poured out his heart, unveiling his own battles and losses, had shattered the barriers of distrust. Raylan witnessed the raw humanity in Jack, the soulfulness often masked by the hard exterior of a soldier. The process of acceptance was akin to the slow, intricate dance of the bioluminescent flowers of the night converging into daylight's embrace. In the subsequent weeks, the Hall of Memories didn't just house the relics of their past but became the heart of their restorative actions. Together, they restored the records, painstakingly repairing and recounting tales of valor that had once seemed lost to time. The holographic archives, once ghostly echoes of a painful past, now shimmered with narratives of hope and perseverance. Through every shared laugh and every tear, the bonds between them deepened. Each reconstruction, each story retold, served as a cathartic release of pent-up grief and a celebration of lauded valor. Aided by advanced elision technology, they resurrected entire chapters of their storied past in vibrant, interactive displays. Among these, Ain Seraphil's hologram stood proudly, his heroic deeds immortalized not just in the digital realm but in the hearts of all who watched. Lyla giggled and played amidst these recordings, finding a unique companionship with the projected likenesses of her father and other legendary figures. Her innocent laughter filled the hall, a poignant reminder that life, in all its splendor, persisted. The exchange of technology became a bridge that linked Jack's earthly pragmatism with Elysian ethereal beauty. Raylan, finally recognizing Jack's unwavering loyalty, entrusted him with an ancient artifact, the Lucent Glyph. This relic, gleaming with metaphysical properties, was a symbol of trust and unity. Its radiant glow was a stark contrast to the somberness that initially clouded their interactions. Jack accepting this artifact was emblematic of his integration into their lives and the shared future they now envisioned. Despite their advancing camaraderie, they were not blind to the looming shadows of intergalactic uncertainties. Across the stars, unresolved conflicts and alien threats simmered, threatening the fragile peace they had painstakingly carved out. On a particularly vivid day, the trio ventured beyond their usual boundaries, exploring ancient ruins that dotted the landscape. These ruins, remnants of an advanced civilization that predated even Elysian records, whispered forgotten secrets and untold wisdom. Jack, with his curiosity piqued, sought to decipher these secrets, hoping they might unlock new realms of knowledge. Orena and Raylan joined him, their collective skills complementing each other in uncovering the intricate hieroglyphs and advanced mechanisms. Each discovery within these ruins became a building block in their edifice of trust and cooperation. Jack's technologically savvy mind, coupled with Orena and Raylan's deep cultural insights, led to unearthing devices that contained untapped energy sources and schematics of ancient spacecraft. This newfound knowledge held not just the promise of enhanced security but also the potential for interstellar travel and exploration, ensuring that the legacy of their predecessors was preserved and advanced. As the trio pressed forward, an unexpected find unveiled itself, an ancient star map etched into the subterranean walls of the ruins. The map depicted potential alliances and uncharted territories teeming with resources. In many ways, it laid the path for a future where Elysian and human cooperation could thrive, navigating the celestial expanses together for purposes of peace and mutual benefit. As they pieced together these discoveries, Orena felt a sense of closure enveloping her troubled soul. The fusion of past wisdom with present resilience was a reminder that the future, while uncertain, was theirs to shape. Lyla, brimming with childlike fascination, seemed to understand that these relics weren't merely artifacts but bridges to unbound possibilities. Back in their home, as dusk settled once more, the luminous flora reawakened, casting their gentle light on the gathered group. They shared a modest meal, symbolizing their newfound unity. Jack, no longer a stranger, had become an integral part of their family. Their conversations meandered through galaxies of dreams, spurred by ancient maps and rediscovered paths. Lyla's laughter punctuated their dialogue, filling the gaps between words with pure, unfiltered hope. Orena, holding Lyla close, cast her gaze towards the vast expanse of the night sky. She felt the enormity of their journey yet to come, the stars above mirroring the infinite potential of their forged bonds below. The lingering shadows of loss were now mere outlines against the vibrant tapestry of love, trust, and unity they had woven together. The dawn of renewed hope brought with it a serene anticipation for the future. The silent promise of uncharted territories, new alliances, and shared triumphs lay before them. As the galaxy unfolded its myriad secrets, they stood ready, their spirits intertwined, prepared to brave whatever came their way. United, they gazed at the resplendent horizon, their hearts alight with a newfound clarity and purpose. The galaxy, in all its splendor and mystery, awaited their indomitable spirit, fueled by the unwavering belief that together, as a redefined family, they could overcome any celestial challenge and emerge victorious. This was their shared destiny, a journey of hope, resilience, and love, etched into the stars forever. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.